Hey, what's up, guys? This is Worse, and I'm back again with something totally, completely off the wall different. I have in my hand, the back's really cool too, Rock and Roll Comics Van Halen. This was part of a series by Revolutionary Comics. They were kind of a neat little thing that I never knew about. I just literally how I found this was I researched. I literally just got the weird idea to research. Is there a Van Halen comic? It exists. This comic book company comes across as a kind of a DIY thing. It had Todd Loren, which is the writer and editor of this particular comic. I think he might be on all the comics. I'm gonna have to look it up. But what's cool is I guess he had the idea to kind of market, like, name recognition of bands. Like the first one. And no matter what band it is, like regardless of what I think of their music or whatever, I'd love to support this. Like if there's any other comics out there that I could literally get, I may research each and every one that ever came out and check the availability, because I got this off Amazon for kind of cheap-ish. So I mean, I would assume they're not really like super rare or anything by that measure. Maybe some comics are more rare than others. For example, there's an Elton John one. There's Def Leppard one. The first one is Guns N' Roses, and then there's Alice Cooper one. There's a Metallica one. I think that was the second one that came out. With this comic, what I thought would be cool is kind of, instead of just sitting in silence and reading it on my own, I thought about just reading it in like an audiobook form. Maybe I'll pause here and there to kind of give my thoughts. This will not be a review on this. This is literally me just like picking it up and reading for the very first time. So it's not meant to be taken serious, and it is what it is. It's just an 80s comic that was just made for fun, to market off name recognition. So I mean, do with that as you may. First of all, I love the cover. Pretty cool art style. And when I skimmed through this, when I first got it, art style looks pretty cool. I love that Van Halen, that's literally the font on the OU812 album, and it's not just like a font they just threw in there like, oh yeah, Van Halen, like people can read that. Like, no, it's literally like the logo and the font of them, which is very cool. It makes it extremely personal to this comic. Very neat. Yeah, Todd Loren, writer and editor, Greg Fox, penciler, inker, Mary Kelleher, letterer. Very cool. 1964, Bloomington, Indiana. David Roth is 9 years old. So, David, your constant hyperactivity lands you in my office once again. I'm going to recommend that your parents send you to a special guidance clinic for hyperactive children. Little did he know young David Roth would turn his hyperactivity into a very successful career. At the school play that year, Dave gets a leading role. My name is Mr. Bookworm. I hope you like to read. At home, his parents try to cope. I'm a Peppa, he's a Peppa, she's a Peppa, we're a Peppa. Wouldn't you like to be a Peppa too? Yes, man. Yeah, don't mind Dave. He does this all the time. We call it Monkey Hour. I can't wait till this summer when I send Dave to visit Manny in New York. Maybe then I'll get some peace. Come on, David. It's time to go to bed. You can listen to the radio that your uncle gave you before you go to sleep. Bedtime already? I want to stay up later. The radio, with its infinite variety of music, becomes young David's favorite toy. Through it, he learns about all types of music and is particularly moved by Ray Charles. That it won't be long before it's crying time. Later that year, David is sent to New York to visit his Uncle Manny. This was a proving ground for many emerging acts. David would sit in the back of the cafe and see legendary talents such as Jimi Hendrix and Cream. The diverse array of talent would later help Dave as a performer to adapt and experiment with different musical styles. And then you got Isley Brothers and guy I'm not going to talk about, Cream, and Quincy Jones. Around this same time, the Van Halen family is in Holland, in the city known as Nijmegen, only 5 miles west of the West German border. Two brothers, Alex, 10, and Edward, 8, are taking piano lessons. It is an unlikely setting for what will become the nucleus of a groundbreaking hard rock phenomenon. In 1968, the family moves to Pasadena, California. Always a tight-knit family unit, the move strengthens this bond, as they must all start over again together in strange new surroundings. Almost immediately, Alex and Eddie take up rock instruments, with Alex picking up guitar and Eddie going for drums. Eventually, they switch. Alex becomes a drummer, and Eddie becomes a gifted guitarist. Yeah, this is more my style. The Van Halen brothers, together with some high school friends, form a band, the Broken Combs. Meanwhile, bass guitarist Michael Anthony, born in Chicago, is playing in bands at nearby Arcadia High School. By now, David Lee Roth has joined the Red Ball Jets as lead singer and is active at gigs at small parties. During this time, they are rivals, constantly at one another's throats. All of the elements of rivalry are there. What? You hired Broken Combs for your gig? Man, those guys are losers. I'll tell you what, dump them and we'll play for free, okay? Whatever you do, don't book the Red Ball Jets. Their singer, David Lee Roth, is a real asshole. Yeah, just impossible to work with. That's what I heard. Eventually, the rival factions get together to form Mammoth, which later changes its name to Van Halen. David Lee Roth, lead vocals, Michael Anthony bass, Eddie Van Halen guitar, Alex Van Halen drums. They work hard at getting booked as often as possible, everywhere in the LA area. Man, I don't know if I like the idea of calling the band Van Halen. Now, are you sure you don't want to call it Roth? Or better still, the David Lee Roth Band? Oh, I got it. How about, will you shut up already? We already decided on the name. Hey, guess what? I just got back from Mr. Gazzari's office. He's going to book us to play at his club on Sunset Strip. Alright, finally a major venue. As they gain a reputation opening for groups such as Sparks, UFO, Santana, Van Halen establishes themselves as the loudest heavy metal band in LA. They play anywhere and everywhere, sometimes several shows a day. With this practice, they keep getting better and better, perfecting their sound. Don't you think it's time we took a demo tape around to the record companies? Nah, that's a waste of time. If we just concentrate on what we're doing now, eventually a record company will notice us. Yeah, but we gotta do something big to get noticed. How about the Pasadena Civic Auditorium? Is that big enough for you? I booked us there for a gig. Man, how did you manage that without a manager or agent? How are we gonna pay for that? By selling the place out, that's how. The band sets out to promote the Pasadena gig. Listen, we want you to know we appreciate what you're doing. Yeah, we've got to get the word around and we need as many people as possible to hand out flyers. With their flyer brigades, the show in Pasadena is a hit. Many more soon follow. Their shows attract many new devoted fans, including a disc jockey by the name of Rodney Killer B. Bingenheimer, reminding you not to miss the great underground hard rock band Van Halen. They'll be playing at the Rock Corporation in Van Nuys tonight. Then, one day in 1976 at LA's Starwood, Gene Simmons of Kiss catches the show and is highly impressed. You guys really kick ass out there. I'll tell you what, let me produce a demo of some of your songs, and if I can get you signed, I'll manage you. Yeah, all right! Unfortunately, the demo, which includes Runnin' with the Devil and House of Pain, is rejected by all the major labels. Hard rock is dead. Disco rules. What's the matter? Don't have enough problems with your own band? Sorry guys, I did the best I could. Here, you can keep the demo tapes. Maybe you'll get some use out of them someday. Van Halen moves forward undaunted. Roth evolves as the primary lyricist, while other members create the music. Let's see, might as well jump. Nah. Now it's 1977 at Starwood once again. The audience is going wild. Ted Templeman and Mo Austin of Warner are in the audience. They like what they see and hear. Your band is living proof that hard rock and roll is not dead. I'm going back to convince them to sign you. Have you got a demo tape? Sure do. Warner wants to sign Van Halen. The usual contractual difficulties ensue. We want total artistic control. Van Halen does not answer to anyone. And don't forget the paternity clause. February 1978, the self-titled album is released. It will reach number 19 on the Billboard album chart. Excellent, considering this is still the peak of the disco age. And as an aside here, yeah. I mean, so far, I mean, if you were to, I guess, this comic's from 1989. I guess if you were to really watch these interviews that they do, because there's one interview I found from 1978 where they're really describing this. I mean, it may be kind of fudged slightly, but I mean, based on hearsay, I guess you could say, this is pretty accurate. I mean, I'll be interested to really dive deep into what is straight up fiction and what is kind of truth. I don't know. I found that really interesting. Kind of like with Bohemian Rhapsody, kind of. Which, by the way, I hope they do like a Van Halen movie. That'd be kind of cool. It'll be interesting to find out where they go with this, because I genuinely have no idea. I don't even know how long this is. March 3rd, Van Halen begins its first U.S. tour. Alright, let's just go over this contract here. First of all, no light brown M&Ms will be served backstage at any of our shows. Dave devises his infamous barricade system for identifying prospective after-show sex partners. Alright, now, here's a walkie-talkie for each of you. When Edward goes... Oh no. I'll let you know exactly which young ladies to give backstage passes to. Oh my gosh. On tour, Roth tries out his system. Red right, number 16, 6 feet back, red t-shirt, out of sight. By the end of the show, there are hordes of ladies in the backstage area. Dade's voracious sexual appetite becomes legend. He answers his critics bluntly. Hey, they can say what they want about me, but the truth is I'm basically a family-oriented kind of guy. In fact, I've personally started about 4 or 5 families this year alone. Oh my gosh. Roth's extroverted performance garners the band press coverage everywhere. As the Kinks' cover, You Really Got Me, becomes their first top 40 hit, Van Halen embarks on a tour of the UK supporting Black Sabbath. Hey Oz, it's gonna be great working and partying with you. Let's just hope I make it through the tour without killing Tom and Ione. This is amazing! April 1979. Van Halen 2 is produced in just 6 days and released. It will sell 5 million copies and reach number 6 on the U.S. album charts. April 7th, they play the California Music Festival at LA's Memorial Coliseum. April 8th, Van Halen begins a 10-month world tour, hauling over 22 tons of equipment across continents.
We've been reading an awful lot about how Van Halen uses drugs and has wild parties, so I think we ought to give them something to write about. We're having a little party after the show, and you're all invited.
They make a stop at the Oklahoma Jam, where Sammy Hagar is playing. I just wanted to say, I really liked your set. I've been watching your career ever since you were with Ronnie Montrose. Hey, it's really great of you to stop by. I'm a fan of yours. At the University of Southern Colorado in Pueblo. Man, this tour just never ends. I hate hotels. I hate... What the... is this? It's a light brown M&M. This is a blatant violation of our contract. The destruction is enough to get Van Halen permanently banned from Pueblo. April 13th, in Spokane, Washington, David Lee Roth collapses on stage. The band heads for the UK as Dance the Night Away becomes their first top 15 single. By July, they're back in the US at Anaheim Stadium. They try something a little different. They parachute into the stadium from a plane flying above. Or so it seemed. It turns out they had hired lookalike paratroopers. Hey, guess what? The album just went gold. I think this calls for a major celebration. Now I'm gonna prove that I can parachute into a stadium all by myself.
I don't need anyone to do it for me. All you're gonna prove is that you're too high to be trusted with sheets. Let me out of here! By now, Eddie is starting to get some major recognition as a guitar genius. Guitar magazine readers vote him best rock guitarist. Yeah, alright! In April 1980, Women and Children First is released, and the Invasion Tour begins. May 1980, in Italy, David Lee Roth breaks his nose doing one of his famous leaps. April 11th, 1981, Eddie Van Halen marries Valerie Bertinelli, well known for her role as the youngest daughter in the television series One Day at a Time. In May, Fair Warning is released and outsells all previous Van Halen albums. The following spring, Diver Down is released. In February of '83, Van Halen ventures forth to South America to tour Uruguay, Venezuela, Brazil, and Argentina. As Diver Down reaches number 3 on the charts, the Hide Your Sheep Tour begins at the first U.S. festival, which is put on by Steve Wozniak, founder of Apple Computers. After the performance in Brazil, I put together a group of rather adventurous friends. We call ourselves the Jungle Studs, and we're going exploring in the Amazon for a few weeks. Anyone care to join me? That's alright, see you in LA. Don't get eaten by anything, or anyone. In the jungle, Dave gets quite a bit more than he bargained for, as he falls victim to intestinal parasites and amoebic dysentery. You think you can make it, Dave? Yeah, I'll make it. I don't know about my stomach, though. Once recovered, Dave takes to his other favorite pastime, mountain climbing. He travels to Indonesia, where he scales the face of a 5,000-foot mountain. Now this is what I call sightseeing. Meanwhile, Eddie lends a hand to Michael Jackson by adding a searing guitar riff to the song Beat It. Hey, I really appreciate your help, Eddie. That's cool. The Van Halen touch helps give the album Thriller a bridge to a whole new audience. It becomes the biggest album of all time. Eddie receives no payment. May 28, 1983, San Bernardino, California, the second U.S. festival. Van Halen makes headlines by demanding and receiving $1.5 million for a single concert, the largest fee ever paid. Anybody want to take their clothes off?
The attendance turns out to be insufficient to cover the costs, and there will be no third festival. The band meets to discuss the next album. Alright, Dave, here's the deal. We've done our part, we've written all the music, now we need you to write all the lyrics. No problem, Ed. Have Larry the roadie stop by in his 51 lowrider and I'll take care of it. Dave hops in the back seat, while Larry drives through the Hollywood Hills and up the coast. Hey Larry, what do you think of this? Top Jimmy cooks, top Jimmy swings, top Jimmy, he's the king. He writes all the lyrics to 1984 this way. On December 31st, 1983, 1984 is released. The album goes to number 2, while Michael Jackson's Thriller sits at number 1. Jump becomes a mega hit, topping the singles chart for 5 weeks. The video is seen constantly on MTV. This paves the way for a return of hard rock to mainstream radio. MTV promotes a Lost Weekend with Van Halen contest. More than 1 million entrants respond. In August, Van Halen plays the UK Heavy Metal Festival at Donington.
We love you, people!
Motley Crue, Rat, Ozzy. By this time, the heavy metal phenomenon is starting to kick in big time. The competition doesn't affect Van Halen's popularity. Rather, it enhances their position as leaders in music. Videos for Panama and Hot for Teacher helped prolong 1984's popularity. In February of '85, Roth releases Crazy from the Heat, propelled by the Beach Boys cover California Girls. While still officially with the band, this creates a flurry of possible breakup rumors. At LA's Hard Rock Cafe, a favorite hangout, Eddie, with Valerie,
is presenting the restaurant with a very special artifact, his guitar. Valerie, can you hold the guitar and pretend like you're playing it? Can you run out of film? Is Van Halen breaking up? No, we're just waiting for Dave's album to run its course. Then we'll get serious about the next Van Halen album. Dave releases his next single, Just a Gigolo, I Ain't Got Nobody. Dave, are you leaving Van Halen? Van who? It was finally official. In June of 1985, Dave confirms that he is quitting the band. The band members are without a singer. Warner says we shouldn't continue using the name Van Halen with Dave gone. That! One fateful day, Eddie goes to pick up his car from the repair shop. So what's going down with the band, Ed? Well, it looks like we need a new singer. Yeah, why not give Sammy Hagar a shot? He comes in here all the time. He's also into fast cars. He's a real great guy. You'd like him. I'll tell you what, let me give you his number. Alright. The next day, is this Sammy? Eddie Van Halen calling. I don't know if you've heard, but we need a new lead singer. And I thought maybe you'd like to stop by. Yeah, alright, sure. They get together and jam. Man, that was unbelievable. Yeah, so you want to join my band or what? Haha. Hagar joins Van Halen on the condition that he can still pursue his solo career when Van Halen is not touring or recording. 5150 is released and is the first Van Halen album to go number 1. The press starts calling the new incarnation Van Hagar to differentiate it from the Roth version. Now begins a period of public bickering, facilitated by the press. This is the way it is, okay? Roth did not make Van Halen. Van Halen made Roth. The 5150 tour begins. Meanwhile, Dave's movie deal falls through. He returns to rock with a new band featuring ex-Zappa Axeman Steve Vai. His first album with the new band, Eat 'Em and Smile, goes to number 3. Roth begins a 10-month tour. In January of 1987, Eddie becomes ill while vacationing off the coast of Australia. He has a temperature of 105 from a mosquito bite. I think you better call a doctor. Roth's next album, Skyscraper, goes to number 6 on the U.S. top albums. May 27, 1988, Van Halen returns to the stage, headlining the Monsters of Rock tour with Metallica, the Scorpions, Dokken, and Kingdom Come. Unfortunately, it seems the day of the all-day festival is over. Attendance is very disappointing. The concert is Van Halen's first major failure. In June, Van Halen's OU812 is released. It goes directly to number 1. September 29th, they begin a tour of 45 U.S. cities. September, Roth returns for selected dates in the UK, including Wembley Arena. Not much is heard from Van Halen or Roth for the next year, and then, in spring 1990, I'm here in Cabo Wabo, Baja California, where Van Halen is opening their own new nightclub/resort. Let's talk to the band and see what brought this on. We just wanted to have a nice, relaxed, tropical place where musicians from all over can hang out, jam, and escape. Speaking of jamming, shall we? And for those of you wondering about David Lee Roth, he's currently in Vancouver, finishing up a new album of his own. But for now, take it away, guys.
Alright guys, that was Rock and Roll Comics Van Halen. Pretty interesting. I don't know what I really expected. It was just kind of a play-by-play of kind of like hearsay, and I'm sure it was based on interviews off of MTV at the time and different stuff like that. I mean, what little biography you could probably have about a band. I mean, and this guy might have like actually interviewed these guys himself, probably not. I have no idea, but very interesting. I could see how maybe like a movie would probably, like if they did a movie on this, like it could probably be an interesting like kind of script for it. I don't know. I have no idea. It's kind of like, this is really just like a biopic, but just comic form, pretty much. And that's really cool. I had an extremely fun time reading this. I like the style. I love my favorite thing is the art. The art is fantastic in this. It's just your average 80s comic book, which is still fantastic. I mean, no matter how average it is, I mean, it's probably going to be good art. I'd be very interested to get all the other comics by these guys. Like I said, there was 50 or so of them, and I'd like to make a list. That's what I'm probably going to do, is like make a list of all the availability of each of one of these. But I love Van Halen. This was right up my alley to read this. I'm a music historian, music buff. I love music of all kinds and learning about music, and this is just kind of a cool little cherry on top of, like, if you're on a Van Halen kick, this is something cool to have. I'll tell you, this is a really cool piece of history, guys. I guess I'll just see you next time with whatever video I have next in store. I do plan on definitely a lot of reviews in the future, a lot of long form reviews and stuff. This was just kind of a detour, and yeah, this was extremely fun. And if I get more of these, or really any other like little works of fiction, like, I mean, I could do this again. This was really fun. Yeah, have an awesome week, guys, and I'll see you next time.